Microphones on.
Okay, welcome everyone. Have your microphone on. Thank you. Welcome to the council meeting of 16 July 2025. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the Chief Executive Officer. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. A record of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council's statutory obligations. Berrigan Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The people of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. We have no apologies or leaves of absence. We have no applications for leave of absence. Yep. We do have one?
We do, so apologies, Mayor Julia, for the August meeting. I have an application for leave of absence.
Okay. We have a mover for Councillor Healy for that. Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Seconder, Councillor Payne. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. We have no attendance via audio-visual links today. We have confirmation of previous minutes, being the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday 18th of June, the extraordinary council meeting held on Monday 30 June, and the extraordinary council meeting on 7 July 2025. Do we have a mover for those? Councillor Payne, a seconder, Councillor Stringer. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Disclosure of interest. Do we have any interest to declare? Councillor Dennis.
I don't have any actual disclosures of interest, but I have a point to make in 10.2.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dennis, and that's in closed council, so you'll
Correct.
declare that at that point. Thank you. We have no mayoral minutes and no reports of committee, so we'll move to the agenda proper. We have for information items 8.1 through to 8.4. I'll just call those out singularly if anyone has any questions. 8.1, Councillor Dennis, you have a query?
Yep, with the Rotary Playground, I've noticed that there's a response and that it has regular checks and repairs and is compliant for a playground, but not the All Abilities Playground. And the response to completely replace and redo and have extra facilities for all abilities is noted as not in the budget or foreseeable future. Is it possible to look at making the step into the playground more obvious? For example, like a bright paint or a slight inset into the actual playground instead of actually having a raised step that seems to be an issue?
Director Community and Development, your microphone please.
I think it's a question for Gary, but I'm sure I can take this one. I'm sure we could look at that and do something in regards to fluorescent paint that can be seen during day and night. I will let you know externally that council are also looking at providing a compliant toilet facility within the all accessible playground in Tocumwal as well.
Excellent.
All in 8.1. Okay, thank you. Did you have no? 8.2, correspondence. I do note the outgoing correspondence to the Leader of the Opposition has not been sent, so that's not correct. Could we please record that on the record?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else in relation to the 8.2? Councillor Dennis?
It's the letter about the local control authority functions and duties. In the New South Wales Biosecurity Weed Data Standard document, it has identified reporting requirements from the Berrigan Shire Weed Management. The Berrigan Shire has a Weeds Management webpage with the Weedwise app and the Weed Australia web link and the Biosecurity Act 2015. Due to the importance of weed management, is it possible to have a photo and description of the weeds known and targeted in the Berrigan Shire? In particular, a reporting mechanism to identify them by community.
Over to Andrew.
Through you, Mayor. It's lucky that you looked at the website recently because we've only just put that information on. Prior to that, there was nothing. So we will include the list of weeds that we actually review in regards to our shire, so we can add that. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on 8.2? No. 8.3, council requests.
Oh.
Sorry, Councillor Dennis?
I noticed about the letter with the foreign arrangements. Do Berrigan Shire Council have any active foreign arrangements?
Sorry, I didn't hear that properly.
So Berrigan Shire have listed the letter and the instructions with the foreign arrangements. Does the Berrigan Shire Council have any foreign arrangements?
The letter from DFAT.
Oh, the foreign arrangements? Sorry, I was hearing firing arrangements.
Oh,
I don't know. Foreign arrangements, no.
thank you.
Okay, 8.3, no. 8.4 is the Federation Council and Berrigan Shire Council Local Emergency Management Plan. Councillor Dennis?
Considering out of the 17 risk hazards, with 6 being extreme, and out of the 6, Berrigan Shire is the combat agency and responsible agency for two of them being earthquake and transport, and transport is defined as air. Is there enough emergency funds in the budget to cover those, for those particular risks?
That's not something we would normally budget for, no. I do have, the CEO does have delegation under an emergency to spend money as it's needed, and that is usually refunded. But no, we don't budget for that kind of response.
So that probably leads on to the next one about councils responsible for a large amount of the communications combat agency and responsible agency for the other 6 risk hazards. Is there an option for all council responding staff to do a first aid or emergency disaster training as a core function of those operations?
We do first aid training, and we do do multi-agency practice, yes.
Okay, thank you. So 8.5 to 8.7 are receive and note, so we'll move those as a block. Sorry, you
I
have
had
another
a
one.
hand, sorry. Where the emergency buildings for the evacuation with the Berrigan Shire, is there sufficient services within the buildings such as power, infrastructure, storage and for accommodation requirements?
If I may, it's almost like we're working together or something because we've just about to apply for an application through a state grant to actually see if we can improve our actual recovery centre. The grant application is between 50 to 200,000 and it's required to be lodged by the 21st. So hopefully, if we were successful, we would certainly improve the existing facility, not only in regards to Wi-Fi and the like, but also shower facilities, cooking facilities, and ensuring that it can actually be used in case of emergency.
So where are the emergency buildings? Which ones are they?
Tokemall Recreation Reserve, the cricket built facility is our major centre within the Shire.
Okay, we'll move now to 8.5 to 8.7, which we'll move as a block. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder, Councillor Nardikoa. Does anyone have any questions on 8.5? Comments? No? 8.6, Councillor Nardikoa.
My comment is just that there is a severe lack of actual referencing points. The subject matters is just motion and then a comment, but it doesn't actually give you any context as to what motion was being discussed. So I found that just, like, there was lots of good movement and progress, but you just didn't know what it was actually in relation to.
That's probably the recording mechanism through Info Council. When we move to a better system, we probably have more detail.
It was messier than usual though.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Anyone else? No? 8.7? Okay, all in favour of receiving and noting 8.5 to 8.7? Thank you, carried. So we're up to 8.8, which is the development application 4825 DADM 29 lot subdivision and MHE 32 Burma Road, Tokemore. I'm going to ask the Director, Community and Development to present to Council. We'll follow that with some question and answer, and then we'll move to the recommendation and debate. So, Andrew, would you like to kick off, please?
Through you, Mayor and Councillors, I'll start in the larger picture and I'll work my way down to the development, hopefully just give you an understanding of how the officers have arrived at the recommendation. So the Council will be mindful that we've done a lot of strategic work within our 4 towns, and we've started with the strategic framework and district plans for Berrigan Shire. And what that plan did is it identified the population type within each of the towns, but also our need for residential development. And in a nutshell, it identifies that Tokemore has an ageing population and that there is need for smaller, more affordable dwellings throughout our shire, with Tokemore being one of them. When we then look into the application, you'll recognise that within the structure of the officer's report, we've had to identify some of the state policy provisions. And the main one here to actually look at is there's a SEP, so a State Environmental Planning Practice policy, that is in reference to manufactured home estates. Why is that relevant? Well, it's relevant on the basis that the state is trying to illustrate to all councils that we need to do work in regards to providing affordable housing across New South Wales. It's also relevant because in this type of application, it requires a different type of assessment than what you might see, say, if you were looking at a multi-unit development. There's certain provisions in the manufactured home estate that we have to then consider for this application, on top of the subdivision element to it. When you then look at the subject site itself, it is, I would say, fairly unique. And the reason I say that is, yes, it's zoned residential, so what's proposed is consistent with the zoning, but you've got, in effect, 2 road abuttals. You've got a golf course on one abuttal, and so you've really only got a sensitive interface located really in the southwest corner. That in itself is something we need to recognise when we look at developments. When we looked at this application, we followed the process under the Act. So obviously a fair amount of information was provided, and the applicant provided traffic impact assessment reports, servicing infrastructure, biodiversity, economic development and planning, and all of their development plans for this application. Once the officers were satisfied that all the relevant information was provided, they then gave notice of the application, which included sending over 120 letters and putting the advert in the local newspaper. On that basis, there were the submissions received that are noted within the report, but there was also a couple of letters of support, and you've heard from those now. I'll actually take you through a little bit through the report. The report, officer's report that is attached, is fairly detailed, but that's on the basis of the scale of development. Separating it out, the proposal really is a 29 lot subdivision, and on that basis, the application proposes to have what we'd consider consistent lot frontages along the 2 roads. So from the street network, the presentation would be not dissimilar to what you would see within the surrounding area. Within that, you then have the larger lot, the 29th lot, that then contains the manufactured homes and also the community facility. Now, in regards to transportables, which is in effect what these are, there's a requirement for them to meet the DDA provisions, and there's a condition that has been included in relation to that. But also the community facility itself would actually require a construction certificate, and it would again have to be compliant. So some of the concerns you've heard in regards to them not being compliant is actually incorrect, because they'd be addressed, and they have been addressed through conditions. So conditions 23 and 38 are of note. When the officers have done the assessment as part of the process, they have obviously also undertaken a consultation meeting. That's not a requirement under the provisions of the Act, but that's something that we do, which allows the objectors and the applicants to come forward, have that conversation. It allows us to be, I would say, slightly more informed, and on that basis, we have also included conditions to try and address some of those concerns expressed. Now, as I said, in regards to the context, the major abuttal here is in regards to the southwest. So you'll see that officers have included conditions there to try and address those concerns, to make the outcome along that abuttal more consistent with what we're proposing under the LEP, which is looking at lots of 450 square metres. So if this was a normal residential development and the LEP is approved, you would be allowed to do subdivision of 450 square metre lots. So we've taken that on board, added the condition, and tried to make sure that that boundary abuttal is not dissimilar to what you could experience if it was a normal residential type development. There are numerous other conditions in there. Through the officer's assessment, we would say that it meets all of the relevant provisions. We've gone through each of the SEP requirements, but also the other provisions. And we think that on the basis of the conditions that have been included, that it addresses all the relevant provisions.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Questions from councillors? Who would like to start? Councillor Hannan?
No, I don't have any questions on at all.
Okay.
No.
Councillor Dennis?
I have several questions
Sure.
that I'll bring up, not in relation to what you've spoken about, but about questions I have in relation to the development application.
Yep. That's for now. Yep.
It's for now?
Yeah.
Okay. I have several questions. One, what is the rate breakdown as the dwellings are on the same property charged to live in the buildings they own by leasing the land? Then what is the rate that the council receive? Is it more beneficial or even possible under the zoning of the Berwick and Shire Council to have the proposed dwellings as individual ratepayers?
So because they've applied for the manufactured homes estate, it would be under one lot, and then those dwellings are in effect leased. We can't change the provisions for the type of application to put them on individual lots because that's not what they've sought. Yes, council would only receive a rate, but in regards to servicing and infrastructure and the other things, there are conditions included to ensure that they're appropriately picked up and that they make a financial contribution.
So then if Berwick and Shire only receive one rate payment, then is it fair for other ratepayers, and does it cover the cost of the services used, which you've kind of answered that?
Yes, so not only obviously are there conditions about the servicing, but there are conditions in regards to road widening as well. So there were some concerns expressed about the impact of the community to have to pick up those. Those costs are passed on to the developer on the basis that this development is the nexus of change and derives the need to upgrade the road also. So condition 34 and 35 have addressed those issues.
Is there a requirement for the actual dwelling leases in the contracts of sale conditions to be disclosed in the DA? For example, there is a current issue in Victoria that was investigated by the ABC 730 report where in similar living conditions and circumstances, the people who bought the houses were being charged a sale exit fee for thousands. It must be paid whether you were living or deceased.
Unfortunately, it's not relevant to us as part of our assessment of the DA.
Damn. The dwellings adjoining the western resident boundaries were raised in the public consultation, mainly by one of the residents online, and has been amended as a setback in the revised D plan. Overall, people did not seem opposed. However, there were issues raised at the meeting in relation to the entire number of mobile dwellings being too many. Reasons include issues of congestion, access, emergency facilities, also noted in the amendment, and with the other access off Burma Road. There were narrow streets, more than one vehicle, not being able to park there. There was an issue with storage of caravans, boats, golf cart spaces, as well as privacy and livability were raised. Is there any reason why more mobile dwellings were not set back or reduced in numbers, addressing all concerns?
So when we've looked at this application, the road widths and storage are actually provided and compliant in regards to that. Because it's a internal road network, there's no requirement for them to meet council standards such as the infrastructure design manual. You are allowed to reduce your road width. However, those road widths proposed are suitable for emergency vehicles and waste collection, and you'll note they've got their own private waste collection. In regards to the total number of manufactured home estates, the provisions actually require you to look at the siting of them and to ensure that they have compliant setbacks from their site. In this instance, this proposal totally complies with those provisions, and so therefore the setbacks are appropriate. Where officers thought there was an impact, which was that southwest boundary, as I've discussed previously, condition 1 requires deferred commencement on the basis that they do reduce the number of manufactured homes along that boundary. But the other elements, we would say, are compliant and really have no off-site amenity impact that needs to be addressed.
In 6.8 of the report, the Berrigan Local Environment Plan, which you've mentioned, in 2013, airspace noise is listed, will, under the heading, will meet indoor design levels shown in table 3.3, which is the indoor sound levels for determination of aircraft noise. In the designs are aluminium windows, and there's no stipulation of double or single glazed, and it's listed as lightweight cladding. Can it please be shown how and where the indoors design sound levels are met?
So there's a specific condition on there requiring each of the units themselves to be acoustically treated, and I'm just trying to find the specific condition for you. And there's also a condition in there in regards to the actual height and the flight paths as well that's been added as well to officers. So
It's
they've
in
considered
the,
that.
Local environmental plan under the Berrigan webpage.
Yeah, which is why we've added the conditions. So I'm trying to find the specific condition for you. So condition 32, dwelling acoustic design and construction. So that's been added. Condition 33 also then has some construction noise management. And then there's another condition in regards to the airspace at condition 37.
So that's 6.8. So that's under the development near aerodromes.
Yeah, but we've added the conditions in this to address that requirement, so they would comply with the provisions.
So with number A in those conditions, development in areas subject to aircraft noise, I couldn't find the response to the clause earlier in 6.8, and also 6.9, number 3A, not listed as a respondent to under the heading before determination a development application. So that's in, I think it's page 192. So it's listed in the construction code, but not in the airport development code.
On the basis of where the site is and the provisions that apply to the site, the condition that we've applied to this development meets the requirements of the LEP. So if you were constructing within the aerodrome, there are different requirements where you further offset, such as the normal residential lots that abut this subject site, you don't have to meet those same attenuation requirements. So the condition we've imposed meets the provisions of the LEP.
It says along any development alongside the aerodrome.
And so when you look into the mapping that's attached to the LEP, the maps actually define those areas of where it's applicable. For where these dwellings are, they're actually outside that mapped area under the LEP.
Which brings me to a point, and I know it's further on. Give me a second. So with the noise that's mapped, and considering that there's new subdivisions that aren't aligned, like the taxiways that aren't on there, has that had any impact on it? Like the noise that's around the airfield, the mapping actually lists around the airfield, but it doesn't actually include the subdivision for the new taxiways. Does that have an impact on what you've just said?
It would only impact if there was development proposed within those areas. So in regards to the application that council's considering now, we have to look at what's been mapped and what the provisions are, and this would comply with the condition we've included.
So you can have an aircraft right next to the subdivision, across the road.
Okay, question and answer only. Thanks, Councillor Dennis. Anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
In the plans, it states that the mobile dwellings are 2 to 3 bedrooms. However, there are no 3-bedroom designs. Is this correct?
On the basis of the provisions of if you include a study or a room that can be used for that purpose, it has to be classified as a bedroom. So although there's some that show studies and open areas, we've had to classify some of them as bedrooms.
It's noted that the pedestrian pathways will connect to internal streets. Not every dwelling has a pathway outside. Is the road a shared pedestrian pathway outside the individual dwellings?
It's a private road, so it could be utilised for that purpose. I know there was a discussion about the connection of the site to the surrounding town, and perhaps a condition should be included to make sure that that connection's provided. But within the internal network, because they're private roads, they would comply.
So the MHE Development Tokemore is a company under Golflinks Estate Tokemore, registered at 55 Kangaroo Ground, Victoria. Is this associated to the Tokemore Golf Course in any way?
I don't know, and again, it's not relevant to the consideration of this application.
There was an issue raised in the public consultative meeting. Has Section 82 had an exemption? Is this relevant? If so, what was the exception?
Sorry, Section 82 of...
I don't know, it was raised in the public consultation meeting.
So-
You'll need to be specific, Councillor
well,
Dennis.
just for clarity, in regards to council's decision for a development application, under the Act, we have to consider all written submissions. Because we run a consultation meeting which is outside of the provisions of the Act, what's raised within it, yes, we try and address at the meeting, but there's no requirement for officers or council to consider them in the assessment of the development application. So unless it was a written submission that raised that as a concern, we're not required to address it. From my understanding, we've been through all the written concerns and we've addressed all of those within the report.
At the public consultative meeting, the developer, Michael, introduced a person online, Nick, as the town planner to answer a question. When another question was asked later in the evening about the access from Hudson's Road, Nick stated that he did not know because he had not been to the area, and it was asked if Hudson's Road needed an upgrade. Comments from the crowd were under the impression that Nick was the actual Berrigan Shire town planner, and it was at this point that people realised that he was a representative for the development company.
Councillor Dennis, can you get to your question, please?
Question was asked again of the access to the development of Hudson's Road could have turning lanes. Nick replied yes. So where in the plans and the conditions are the inclusion and commitment to the slip lanes?
So irrespective of, again, of what occurred at the consultation meeting, there was a traffic impact assessment done by Ratio. Ratio are the traffic engineers that are qualified and prepared a report. They've made recommendations within that traffic impact assessment that have been considered by officers, and then the conditions of those have been included in condition 34, and then any road widening in regards to Hudson's Road has also been added in condition 35. And although it says C, it should be A, which is the widening of the Hudson Road's entry site. So that's been addressed through the conditions.
Leading on to that, there's a clarification with the sealing of Thornburns Road at the intersection at Thornburns Road and the link to Tokemore Barooga Road relating to increased traffic flow. Under the heading, so it's in page, 205, heading number 40, Transport New South Wales conditions clarified the sealing and signage on Thornburns Road to Tokemore Barooga Road. Also, is Marion Drive part of that consideration for extra traffic, because that's the shortest link to Tokemore Barooga Road?
So the application was referred to Transport New South Wales. Transport New South Wales have included conditions, and condition 40 addresses their conditions. As a council, once we've provided a concurrence or a referral, we have to include their conditions as they are. And on that basis, we're not wholly aware of what they consider, but we just have to include their conditions as proposed, which is what we've done.
And the last point is, it's noted about the developer is invested in their own sewer pump. However, there is a large increase, like potential uses, so we're probably looking at 323 homes. Why is there no development contribution to the sewer?
So there are conditions in that regard. Also, they provided a servicing and infrastructure report that was provided to our officers again that have considered that it is appropriate, subject to some conditions. So there you'll see the specific conditions about the sewer pump station on condition 25. And then there's also conditions in regards to some of the contributions that they're required to make, not only to the sewer, but also to the stormwater and the water. So you'll see those in conditions 15, 16 for open space, 17 for water, and then 18 for stormwater.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Councillor Natakawa, do you have any queries? No. Councillor Payne? Thank you. Councillor Brooker?
No, good, thank you.
Councillor Healy?
Just a clarification. There was concern about the width of streets for access and for turning capabilities for emergency services and waste and what have you. In the revised plans, that's been updated, is that correct, to a suitable width?
Yeah, so there's been amended plans. We've
Yeah.
checked those in regards to what's been provided, but also just to ensure that it would be done to our satisfaction, we've also added a specific condition about the turning off
Yeah.
Hudson's.
And just in regards to, you mentioned earlier, perhaps a condition to provide some, I think it was more direct access to town. There was a comment that you made. Just one of the queries I had, because it seems quite self-sufficient, and if there is a way to enhance those living there, their ability and access to get into the town easily, that would be something.
So I will mention that they're obviously providing a community bus, which is to provide that access
Yeah.
within the town, but also through council's position, if they wanted to include an additional condition in regards to forming the access, the pedestrian footpath, then we could include and word the condition. You would just need to make note of it, and then we could move an amended recommendation with an additional condition.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? No. Councillor Stringer?
No, I'm waiting for the argument side.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a recommendation that council resolves to approve development application number 4825 DADM for a 29-lot subdivision and the establishment of a manufactured home estate, associated internal roads, recreational areas and community facilities at lot 32 DP 778129, 32 Burma Road, Tocumwal. The proposal has been assessed in accordance with section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 and is considered to be consistent with the objectives of the RU5 Village and RU1 Primary Production Zones under the Berrigan Local Environment Plan 2013. Do we have a mover?
I'd be happy to move that, but I'd like to add to the recommendation
Yeah.
that the developer pay at their full cost for the upgrade of the footpath to be sealed along Hudson Road, connecting to the existing sealed footpath to the satisfactory of us, the consent authority.
So an additional condition that states that?
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Healy. Okay, would you like to speak in favour of the motion, Councillor Hannan?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Obviously, we understand that Tocumwal is one of the most, one of the last places on the river that are going to be somewhat encouraged, or an encouragement for our developers to come to. We understand that these developments are going to continue to come, and I believe that we need to be able to strategically plan for this, which we are, and also be able to control the developments through the conditions that we do put on individual developments. I believe that, you know, whilst this development may take a few years to come to fruition in its full extent, what it will do is free up some existing stock within the community. The comment was made that the 150 EOIs from outside of the Shire have already been received, and up to 28 local ones. So that will, start to address some of the housing issues that we have in our Shire. We've played around in the, one of our roles is to attract economic development to our area, and we've played in the tourism space for a long period of time, and we haven't, you know, we've had levels of success in that. I believe that this sort of development will enhance both the economy of our local Shire, and also will add to our tourist attractions that we've developed over a period of time. We have a lot of small businesses that have established themselves or just established themselves in Tocumwal, and I believe that a development like this will further sustain their businesses in the community, and also provide further options for other small businesses to come on board, hence in what we're trying to do with the town planning of Tocumwal itself and the redevelopment of that area. In one of our strategies of the Berrigan Shire is to attract young people and their families to the Berrigan Shire. What I've noticed over a long period of time is, yes, okay, Tocumwal is a retirement, has attracted that retirement age, but it also attracts their children and their grandchildren. And what we've seen out of that is obviously a progression of people getting exposure to our area where they wouldn't subsequently do, and gives them that opportunity to, if they do decide to move to our area. Yeah, that'll be all for the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Hannan. Councillor Healy, would you like to speak in favour?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favour?
I
Okay.
think you have to. Oh, sorry.
I'm in favour. The fact that it's a staged thing and it's not all going to happen at once, I think that's the perceived fear, is that it's all going to happen at once and we don't have the services to support it. But I
Yeah.
think the fact that it is actually a staged development gives us the opportunity and the community an opportunity to actually grow with the development, as opposed to trying to fend it off because it's all happening at once. So,
And it needs to be marketed and sold as well.
exactly.
Thank you.
And that's going to, the expressions of interest don't potentially directly relate to sales. So I think there's time for everybody to wrap their head around it.
Thank you, Councillor Natakawa. Anyone else to speak in favour? Okay, calling for people to speak against. Councillor Stringer.
Just, there's a few things. Jenny was speaking from the golf course. She was representing.
Kathy
Sorry?
Giddens.
Kathy, sorry.
Yes.
She was representing the management of the golf course, not the members. I can't go to the golf course without people jumping all over me about this, and no one's been positive with it. Another problem we have is it's not going to attract young families, it's going to attract older people like myself, and we need to attract young families if the town's going to survive and grow. The other thing is we're not protecting the airport. Now, I'll use TIAB as a plan for this. The Mornington Peninsula Shire allowed estates to go ahead around the TIAB airport, and then for the last 20 years the TIAB airport has been fighting to survive, because once they're in there they start complaining about the noise and everything else and try and get the airport closed down. So we've done nothing to protect the airport, nothing whatsoever, and that is a major part of Tocumwal. I received emails which I forwarded on of people objecting to it, and we don't need to build a trailer park. Like, I'm not against building estates, but they need to be proper estates. And people, it's not dear to build a proper house with 3 bedrooms, with a garage, with surrounding lawns and backyard and front yard and everything else for retirees for when they bring their children or their grandchildren come to visit. Illumina in Finley proves that to a fact. Yeah, they cannot keep up building for the amount of people that want to live there. So it's not going to get my vote no matter what. It's just wrong for the area completely.
Thank you, Councillor Stringer. Councillor Dennis?
Can somebody speak for the recommendation after, is it
After
for
the
and against?
Would you-
I
can we-
believe that under process it's a for and against argument. Somebody speaks for, somebody speaks against. Can we get clarification on that?
I actually thought it was the other way, but I'm
Normally, yeah, but,
happy for you to go, and then we'll come to Councillor Dennis. Go ahead, Councillor Hannan.
Yeah, I take the point that there's some existing infrastructure that that Councillor Stringer has raised, but at the end of the day, if you're going to develop and live near an aerodrome, you understand fully that it is an operational aerodrome. We've been getting complaints about activity around that aerodrome for the last 25 years, and at the end of the day, it is a functional airport. It is for obviously recreational use, but it also does play a significant importance to emergency services that do fly in and fly out of the airport. Look, I would like to argue hell in a handbag to anybody that wants to build near an airport and then wants to think that they can shut the airport. You talked about the trailer park setup, which I'm not quite sure that I've seen a lot of these developments around. We have an existing development in the town, Murray Haven, that is exactly the sort of development this is proposal.
Yeah, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And
Thank you,
I
Councillor
use
Hannan.
TIAB as, sorry?
Sorry, Councillor Stringer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I use TIAB as the running piece for it because that's what's happened. TIAB Airport has been there forever, a fully functional airport, and then people moved in around it, and then they bound together and formed an anti-airport group, and for 20 years they've been wasting money and resources fighting to stay alive until the government has finally said, that's it, you're staying alive.
I'll just make one more point on the airport if I could. I've been on council for 18 years and the biggest complaints I've had about the airport and the noise is around aerobatics. That's all, aerobatics.
It's a start. Once you put a housing estate in there and 300 people join together and band and form a group, they're going to come at it.
Okay, Councillor Dennis, go ahead.
My understanding from public consultation is that a lot of the residents at Tokemore are not opposed to a subdivision or housing and are quite embracing and welcoming of it. But it's the issue of the internal block that's for sale that will be leased to the residents. That is the issue. There's too many of them in the one space. The type of infrastructure, people are opposed to that. It's the closeness and the proximity and the type of design that seems to be opposed by most people, and to the amount of housing for being potentially, well, if you put 2 people in each house, you're looking at over 600 people, and that's a 10% increase in the population. And although you've said it's staggered, it's still an increase, it's still a cost on services. There's been nothing about the cost of the sealing of the roads of Thornburn and what that is to the council cost in that as well. But it's more the amount of houses or dwellings that are going out there that's the issue.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dennis. Anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Brooker.
If I may, I believe either way these developments need to occur because it's the way the population is going and they do like this area. And if I can use Cobram as an example, they've got the 2 that are currently up and running and have been for a very long time, and the newer one that's happening. They do attract families. I know it's hard to think about it that way, but working in the Cobram community as I had for 25 years, I see the people that have come up, they've bought their house, the kids have come to visit and gone, I really like this area. The kids have then moved up. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, and it does attract those families because they like the lifestyle that this area brings. The only one thing I don't like is that it has the one main entrance and the one emergency. It does have the one emergency exit now though, but the fact that it has the two exits is probably a good feature.
Thank you, councillor Brooker. Anyone else?
I'd just like to add that if there is the 28 or so people in Tocumwal that have showed interest in that, that's ultimately going to potentially free up 28 other homes for families to move into, because they can't move in there at the moment because there is nowhere to move into. So I think that it's sort of that give and take as well, because you would think that potentially the people in Tocumwal that are interested would be trying to get in first, which then sort of alleviates that housing strapping.
Okay, we will put the recommendation, and there is a division, so we'll need to record our votes. So those who are for, could you please raise your hands? Have you got those recorded? Excellent. And those against? Thank you, that's carried. Well done, everyone, for your contributions and debate. Councillor Hannan, we note has to leave. Thank you. We're on 8.9, Service Review Framework and Plan. The recommendation is that Council acknowledge the schedule of service reviews to be undertaken for the 2025-26 financial year and work with the interim CEO to ensure a review of the service reviews program guideline and plan is reviewed in line with current practices, the agreed schedule as per the DPOP, and current documents developed for the purpose of delivering consistent service reviews. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natakawa, a seconder? Yep. Councillor Healy, any questions or comments? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you, carried. All right, scrolling. We're at 8.10. I note that's incorrectly marked as 5.10. The recommendation is that Council adopt the finalised sustainability report, direct the report to be appropriately branded and published on Council's website as soon as possible, direct the executive team to report on the outcomes of the report, consolidated in Chapter 8, to be reported quarterly to Council, and adopt the updated Council work plan as provided at Appendix 2 of this report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Healy, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments? All in favour? Thank you, carried. 8.11, Tocumwal Football Netball Club licence. We have a recommendation that Council rescind the decision on, or it's the resolution of 4 December 2024 about reporting back in relation to a lease for the Tocumwal Football Netball Club, wait for the plan of management to be granted ministerial consent, and when ministerial consent is provided to the plan of management, that Council delegate the CEO to negotiate a new lease for a period of 10 years with options and similar to the expired lease with the Tocumwal Football Netball Club. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder. Councillor Dennis, any questions or comments? No. Councillor Brooker.
Sorry, I do have a question. I do know in the original discussions when this came to Council, there was a provision in there that we were going to have some consultation with the other user groups at the reserve. Has that occurred?
Through you, Mayor, yes, there's been discussion with all of the user groups and also obviously the committee. The preference is what's been provided as an attachment via the committee.
We do have an issue with insurance we need to check with them. I understand we insure the building, but they may insure some of it as well.
I think you may be correct in regards to the doubling up, so we can look at that.
Yep, excellent. Anything else? No? Okay, we'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Thank you, carried, and thank you to everybody for their work in getting to achieving an outcome on that one. Thank you. 8.12, inquiry into local government amendment elections bill 2025. The recommendation is that council endorse the submission made by the CEO to the inquiry into local government amendment elections bill 2025. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dennis, a seconder. Councillor Healy, all in favour of that? Thank you. Carried. I note, by the way, we spoke at a hearing on this matter yesterday, and I'll mention that in my mayor's report. (8.13) closed circuit television. The direction of council is sought. So this matter's gone around and around quite a bit. Would officers like to talk to this about what direction you're seeking?
I'll just talk to it that it has been a bit difficult for staff to know what to do and when. And the main issue is obviously that policy is in place that says you need a crime strategy. Now, you don't have to go with your policy, or you can rescind the policy. I think understanding the intent of council is the core. Is it to prevent crime, or is it to protect our infrastructure, which sort of go hand in hand? But a lot of the vandalism that is occurring would be inside a toilet facility. So the painting of the walls or the breaking of things. Yes, there has been a point where they have literally taken a toilet out, and we would have had that on CCTV. But a lot of the stuff that is happening, we wouldn't have on CCTV anyway, because you can't have a CCTV camera inside a toilet facility. You can only have it on the outside. I think I've gone through that in the report. I'm happy for this to be a discussion, like I can leave it with you guys, but happy for it to be a discussion at one of your strategic planning meetings, to at least then, as a team, understand what you want to do going forward so that we can respond more appropriately.
I think the motion that was or the resolution that is on the books, what we were trying to get at is what is the actual cost of running a camera, of replacing a camera and running the camera, and what is the actual cost of damage. And in terms of the cost of the damage, I mean, I hope we are recording specifically each of the incidents and what they cost us. And really, we were wanting to understand those two things before we reach a policy position.
Okay.
We're not that concerned about what policies are out there.
Yep.
We can deal with that after we reach a view of what we want to achieve. And I'd ask if any of the other councillors have a different view to that. I'm seeing shakes.
Yeah.
They may not
So
see that on the...
It's about $30,000 a year in vandalism that, well, we've some of it might be genuine breakage, but we put it down as vandalism because we really don't know. So about $30,000. It's $3,600 a year per camera for the hosting of the CCTV footage. So 10 cameras, that's, and then it's about that per camera, about $3,000 for the purchase of a camera, or around that, I would suggest. So those are the numbers, I guess, that you're looking for.
I think we're looking for specifics, and this kind of thing came up at our last meeting, that if they're reported, I mean, we're wanting a table of the vandalism and what it costs. Actual incidents, not we think actual incidents. We must be reporting them to police. I hope we are.
A lot of the times we don't, because there's not much they can do. Like if it's in a toilet, there was no way of proving anything.
I'm sorry, I'm against that, if I may. If we don't report that someone stole your garden fitting, we had the police officer in here saying if you don't report it and Tom doesn't report it and Dick and Harry don't, they don't realise there's a spike in crime. And we have we not had a part stolen from a car from the council depot and things like that?
We have
Fuel
CCTV
stolen,
at our
things like
depots.
that.
We have CCTV at our own critical infrastructure.
But if we're not reporting it to the police...
Well, that one would have been, but I'm saying that...
But what about the stolen fuel or the stolen UHF and things like that?
Yeah, those are reported.
You've just said that we're not reporting everything.
No, we're not reporting vandalism in the toilets because we've already been told there's nothing they can do. They're in between because you wouldn't know who did what.
But that's what I'm saying. The spike in crime, they do that extra drive-by. And if they don't get those spikes in crime, what's the point of going to Berrigan if there's
We've
no
been
spikes?
discouraged from.
Can we perhaps, so we don't have a motion here, I believe we already have a resolution on the books that's suitable in any event, but would you like to move that we have a report come to confidential counsel in the future relating to the reporting of crime?
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I think the point is we don't know it's crime. That's the concern. So because a handle might have been damaged, it might have been just a genuine
Sure.
mistake. So therefore we don't report them because there's no proof that it's a crime. If there's proof that it's crime, i.e. that it's been tagged or some form of other
That's
thing,
different.
then they are reported. The issue we have here is there's not a clear delineation between damage and crime.
No, I understand that, but I think, we're not always getting specifics, and I'd like to see some specifics of perhaps of what we've reported in the last financial year, so we get a handle of what is and isn't being reported. I just don't think we have any evidence to form a view on this matter. I appreciate you break a door handle. Who knows? It could be an accident. It might not be. And there are incidents that we all know of malicious damage. It would be interesting to see if they have been reported so we can reach a view of what is and isn't there. Councillor Healy.
Just in addition to that, and I'm not sure that we can gather this data. I don't know how simple it would be, but for some of our incidents in the past, it's actually been our 355s that have worn the cost of like break-ins. We had a spate, it was some years ago now, where there was break-ins at the Berrigan Rec Reserve. You know, they had alcohol stolen, they had, you know, plus damages to the building, which obviously would have impacted, it was direct impact to council. But I think that was some of what, I don't know if we can account for that, where there have been incidents of crime in those settings. One of the things, as Mayor Julia said, my understanding wasn't the intention to identify specific toilets or, you know, to install the CCTV cameras on the outside, obviously, but it was to work out what is the cost to council, and is that greater than the cost it would be to install these, even if it is as a deterrent, because that is part of a strategy. And then my only other question would be, I guess it's not, there was reference to the crime prevention strategy, and having a program in place. And I guess if that was something that we were looking at, it's about how we're going to resource that and who we're going to have involved in that process. If you were looking to do that, it's in the policy.
Thank you. So, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Stringer.
Sorry?
Or did you have something to say?
Yeah. We know how much the cameras cost, and we know how much it costs to monitor them. Do we know the life expectancy on the cameras?
No, they don't
We
be warranted like a normal piece of electronic equipment, I would suggest.
Yeah, well, we probably need to find out roughly average what the life expense is so that we can take that into it, because it could be that we're going to spend $60,000 and we're going to save $30,000 in crime. So
That's what we've got to find out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. So perhaps if we can speak to some other councils about what their experience has been on life cycle.
yeah, how long they last and
Yep, that's a good idea. Councillor Natikoa?
Just further to what Councillor Healy was saying, there was a spate of vandalism at the showgrounds as well, that I believe Apex and the Showgrounds Committee actually wore the brunt of that cost, and that was door handles broken, sprinklers taken. The honesty box keeps getting knocked off, so they keep replacing that. So would it be worth actually reaching out to the 355 committees to actually see what their feedback is on any damages or vandalism that has occurred over that 12-month period?
Councillor Payne, are you supportive of that addition to your motion?
Yeah, I am. I'm just wondering, when we were having the police representative come in, whether that's something we should initiate again quarterly or...
Well, it did drop off, and then it wasn't particularly useful, and then but we will ask them to come again. They also kept changing. Did you have some?
So just on that topic of conversation, for your
Yeah.
information, we've given consent to 3 of the committees to install their own cameras at their cost to try and reduce some of that. So
Okay.
Baruga Rec Reserve,
Just one of the buildings?
just one of the buildings, yes. The showgrounds and also the Toke Aerodrome have been granted consent to install cameras as well.
Okay, so when the report comes back, can that include that? Yep, great. All right, so we've already got a resolution on the books, which I believe is adequate. Can we suggest the report for councillor Payne's motion be September? Do we have a seconder for councillor Payne's? Councillor Stringer, thank you. And let's put that motion about the reporting. So all in favour of that? Excellent, thank you, carried. All right, I think we've got something to go on. Let's wrap that one up like Tokemore Footy Club. All right, we're at 8:14, which is the change to the 20 August 2025 ordinary meeting start time due to the citizenship ceremony. The recommendation is that council move the start time for the 20 August ordinary council meeting to 9:30 a.m. to accommodate a citizenship ceremony to be conducted prior to the commencement of official business. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Natikoa, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Can we please make sure that our advertising of that meeting is clear that it's at 9:30, because some of the times haven't been accurate lately.
We have 5. We were being notified we have 5 for the
5,
citizenship
that'll be
ceremony.
fine. 9:30, 5 people, that's good. 9.1, which is a notice of motion from myself and seconded by councillor Brooker. The motion is that council delegate authority to the CEO Performance Review Panel to participate in the recruitment process for a permanent CEO, including a recommendation on a permanent CEO to a council meeting to be held at the conclusion of the recruitment process, and delegate authority to the Mayor to act as the primary contact point with the recruitment agency appointed to run the CEO recruitment process and approve procedural and administrative matters relating to that process. We already have a mover and a seconder, so we'll put that all in favour. Thank you, carried, and I will provide some confidential comments on the process during closed council. So I propose that we have a break and closed council. So I would ask someone, think we have a mover to go into closed council, a seconder, Councillor Natikoa, all in favour? Thank you, carried. So we'll be back after a break and confidential council matters. Thank you. come out of closed council. We deferred items 10.1 and 10.3 to the August council meeting. Item 10.2 was a confidential commercial matter, and item 10.4 was a confidential discussion around our permanent CEO recruitment. Item 11 is motions without notice and questions without notice, of which we have none today. So, questions without notice. Sorry, questions.
Yes,
Yeah,
without
without
notice.
notice.
Sorry.
yeah.
I'm not thinking. We will go around. I was got my head in the wrong order. Councillor Dennis, you go.
A question without notice is about the car park in Tocumwal. There's a few weeds growing there, and there's a half-broken fence there, and it doesn't co-join with the current car park there. There's no unity to it. Is there an opportunity to tidy that up prior to summer?
Sorry, which car park?
The one behind, so you've got the existing one behind IGA, and then you've got the car park where the motel used to be, but it's turned into a gravel car park. The two co-joining car parks don't have a cohesion between them, and there's a partial fence, there's a dip, and there's weeds growing in between them. Is there a chance to have that tidied up prior to the holiday season?
Yeah, we can look to tidy that up for sure. Put it on
Thank
the
you.
maintenance program.
Could I just add something there? Where the motel was, it's not formally a car park. So people may use it in that manner and gravel's been placed there, but it's not formally a car park.
What is it then?
It's an unused site.
Okay. Councillor Dennis, anything else?
No.
Councillor Natakawa? Microphone. Microphone.
Is there any feedback on the update around the questions with Town Beach and the access and the boom gate and all of those questions?
So as you're aware, council prepared a plan which included the town beach, the non-car parked area where the motel's been demolished and that whole site. We've just finalised the plan based on the comments received from the community. So hopefully next week we're going to go back out to the community to say we've heard your comments, these are the changes we've made. And it's more about informing them of that rather than opening it up again for discussion.
Yeah.
So that looks at all of the access and suggests a couple of solutions
Okay.
as part of the plan.
Thank you.
Councillor Payne? Councillor Brooker? Councillor Healy?
Just one question, requesting a little update on when our new toilets will be functioning and usable by the community of Berrigan and their visitors.
My understanding was that was to occur this morning.
Oh,
So
No
you can
ribbon
go and
cutting.
cut the ribbon if you would like.
I'd love to cut the ribbon, thank you very
We'll
much.
make it a brown ribbon.
Thank you, I did see that the fence was still up yesterday and I know people are keen to go check them out.
Good to know. Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Councillor Stringer?
The dog problem in Kelly Street. Is there any way that we as a council can make some laws about, because our hands are tied, are they not?
So through you, I can inform you that there's been 2 dog instances, including the one. Both owners have actually been issued with a fine. The concern with the fine from an officer's point of view is you can pay a fine, but it doesn't resolve the problem.
Yes.
So to resolve the problem, we are investigating producing local orders.
Yep.
Because we don't have them within the Shire. Being mindful that although you might have a local order, again, even if they're non-compliant, the only thing council still can do is issue a fine. However, hopefully by having local orders, it would inform the community about what our expectations are throughout the Shire.
Yeah.
We have a draft. There is a very long, convoluted process that we have to go through to introduce a local order, which we would like to initiate this financial year.
Because the bloke said that he was taking his 2 kelpies away for a month, which made the ranger happy, and he brought them back 3 days later.
So owners can surrender or they can relocate. If they relocate outside of the Shire, we give notice to the Shire that we think that they're going to, for them to be registered. Different between New South Wales and Victoria, and because we're on that border, some of those provisions are slightly different. But as such, if we see that the animal is returned to the premise, then again, it's likely that we go the next step and issue a fine again rather than doing any form of other investigation. So you may be aware that council adopted the compliance framework, and part of that was to sort of say, well, if you've been warned, you've been informed, then the likelihood is you're going to get a fine as the biggest stick.
Yeah, that's good, because people are thinking about putting their houses on the market. It's
They are.
been that bad for them. Yeah. I have one
Sorry,
other
let
question.
Councillor Stringer finish.
Just
Yep.
one other. Can the ranger check for microchips on site?
Yes, so they take that with them. The preference is that they would scan it and return it to the owner if it's outside of the site, rather than actually taking it to the pound.
Yep.
So that is there. Again, if they scan it and it's not microchipped, again, that can result in another fine because you've got a dog that's not chipped, which is a requirement within our Shire.
All right.
Okay.
So I'll give him a ring. Right.
Thank you, Councillor Stringer, for bringing that up, and it has been an issue. I did try and do a bit of homework prior to that on the actual amount of attacks and to people and to dogs, and there have been a fair few human attacks as well, so I think the matter is actually become quite urgent. As
Okay.
in human attacks, as in dogs attacking humans.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we took
Not
that.
the other way around.
Can I just ask clarification on that? So, is it just fine after fine after fine? At what point, if there are a number of attacks on the humans, that was a concern that I was going to raise as well?
So yes, we would issue a fine, but there's a process where we can declare the dog dangerous.
Right.
Then we can put requirements about how it must be muzzled if it goes out, and it must be caged.
Okay.
If it goes even further than that, then there is the option that you can destroy the animal humanely
Yeah.
as part of that process. So it doesn't always result in fine upon fine.
Yeah,
There
okay.
are other things, but it depends on the circumstance involved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? No? All right. Finally, I'll get to the Mayor's report. I got sidetracked. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our interim CEO, Mark Dupay, who's joining us while we undertake our permanent CEO recruitment. But it's Karina's last council meeting, so I'd very much like to thank Karina for her work here over the last 4 years. We have some flowers for you. Thank you.
Oh, you know me,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Karina joined us in 2021, smack bang in the middle of the COVID crisis and before the second 2021 lockdown. I can only imagine the nightmare it would have been with the high-speed internet here in Berrigan. And then the delayed election and all those things that happened. But you've brought us on quite a journey, and that cable has since been installed, so we can in fact stream our council meetings. I'd also like to call out the digital initiatives that you have spearheaded and started, and we hope that will come to fruition, and also your very hard work on the country university centres as two significant projects, not only for us here at Berrigan Shire, but for the region. And for your generosity and your hard work are well appreciated, and I was going to say partner in crime when it came to attending various inquiries and making smart comments to politicians, which I will speak about in a minute, which we did yesterday. So thank you, Karina, and I'm sure all the council appreciates you, and all the best at Charters Towers. Do you want to say a few words?
I don't know if I can. it has been a big journey. We have changed many, many things since I've come, and we have internally a lot better processes. They're not perfect yet. We're learning, but we're well on the way, and we are well ahead of some of our counterparts. So I feel we've done well, and I do love this region. And the work that I've done regionally is, yes, to help Berrigan Shire, but certainly to make sure that the region is a better place to live. So thank you very much for supporting me in those endeavours, because they're not always easy to get off the ground or to continue to manage. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll get into what I've been doing the last month. So with Karina and Councillor Healy, I was at the National General Assembly in Canberra from the 23rd to 27th of June. We had our extraordinary meeting on the 30th of June. On the 2nd of July, we had our professional development and our CEO performance review panel meeting. On the 7th of July, extraordinary meeting. 9th of July, pre-council meeting with CEO and my professional development plan. 11th of July, I met with Helen Dalton's office. Helen's got a private members bill going up in relation to the splitting of Murrumbidgee Local Health District. And it's been sent to committee. I've asked them to keep us informed in relation to that. I don't know how successful it will be, but it will certainly put a spotlight on our region, because we are the topic of the proposed split. Will give me an opportunity to carry on the usual things that I carry on about publicly, so that'll be good. I met with Mark on Monday, and with Karina. We had our evaluation panel for the recruitment agency on Monday. And yesterday, Karina and I attended the committee hearing for the local government elections hearing. That paper, which was part of our papers today, there was a press release that went out 7 days before it was due. And it was due, Tuesday a week ago, and then the hearing was yesterday. So I mean, I said it, like, if it's disingenuous consultation if you don't give people enough time to actually...
And at year end.
It was, yeah. But, you know, well done to Karina on the paper, because I did have a look at the agenda afterwards. There are only 3 councils invited, and we were the only regional council invited to that hearing. And there weren't 3 responses. There were, I checked that too, it was around 30 odd responses. So we're obviously punching above our weight, and I did take an opportunity to be smart to the committee. But on that, I did, so Nicole Overall is the duty senator, national duty senator for this area. She contacted me after the hearing and commended us on our submission and our testimony. So again, we're punching above our weight, which is really good. So thank you for that. And of course today we've got our council meeting, and then we do have more work on our evaluation panel for the recruitment agency today. So that's my report. Do we have a mover of that? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Natikoa, all in favour of receiving my report. Thank you, everyone. Carried. We have our verbal reports. We'll start on the left. Councillor Stringer, anything to report? No. Councillor Healy?
I attended the National General Assembly in Canberra and also had my professional development plan. Thank you for that. And I would also just like to add that we're not punching above our weight. We're actually doing some pretty awesome work, and we should give credit where credit is due there. We're very capable out here.
Thank you. Councillor Brooker?
On the 30th of June, I had the Murray Regional Strategy Group online meeting, and I had the extraordinary meeting for council on the 2nd of July, the CEO performance panel, and then on the 7th of July, the extraordinary meeting. Last night, I attended the Barooga Rec Reserve, and I'm here today for council, and I also have my development plan to do.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Payne? Yep. Excellent. Councillor Natikoa?
Other than the 3 meetings that we've had in the last month, we've had a couple of CEO, the employment review panels, and that along with my performance review plan. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dennis?
So attended which I've just missed. The Tocumwal Foreshore Committee meeting on the 18th of June, the performance development, and I also did a course with the local government for finance.
Okay, excellent. Thank you everyone for those reports. So our next ordinary meeting will be on Wednesday, 20th of August at 9am. 9:30am, that's correct. We changed it, 9:30am, because we will have a citizenship ceremony immediately prior. There being no further business, I'd like to close the meeting at 11:14am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.